Hello and welcome. I'm Emma and I am a blogger and copywriter hellbent on dragging you towards a future of much better writing. Today we're talking about better business writing. That involves pitches, emails, anywhere that involves you having to write to represent yourself or to represent your business. If you don't have a writer and you need some fast and loose tips on just how to finesse your own writing just a little bit to make yourself look banging and to really upsell your skills and your business, this is what it's all about. So shall we dive on in? Let's start with emails. My first and most obvious tip about writing better emails is to proofread them before you send. I've made an entire video on this because I receive a lot of very poorly written emails, and the temptation for me even is huge just to go get everything down, get it off, next one. No, don't do that, because, and here's why, you end up with an email that rambles and rambles and rambles and barely manages to get to the point or to even communicate the point effectively. So what you're going to do is read back through everything you've written, and I guarantee you're going to find a fair few sentences or even words that you can just axe out. You don't need them. You don't need to repeat yourself. All you need to do is perhaps a polite greeting, really get to the point, make it ultra clear, make sure you haven't used any words that can have a double meaning or be misconstrued. Just because you understand what you're trying to say doesn't mean that you've written it clearly. So give it a read over objectively, and then clever sign off and bosh. I would recommend really writing the email, and if you can, maybe leaving it 5-10 minutes, go off, do another quick task and come back and read it again, especially if it's an important email, because then you'll have a much better chance of spotting anything that your brain is auto-correcting or anything that doesn't read well. So, oh my god, email sending, proofread that sucker before you send it. I'm also going to give a couple of email bonus tips here. Subject line. There is a huge temptation to waffle in your subject line, but if it's something important like a task you need doing or something that you need urgently, or it's pertaining to a conversation that you've had, stick it in the subject line. Sounds obvious, doesn't happen very often. So make sure that you're putting it very clearly in the subject line exactly what is in the email, and get to that point first and fastest. You don't want to say, oh, important information about the girls' toilets, and then have a massive long diatribe rant about how atrocious the girls' toilets are, and then at the bottom what you actually needed to tell people. They're not going to get that far. They're going to delete the email, close off, if they even open it. So make sure you put in your best bits right at the top, getting to the point. And email sign-offs. This is very interesting. I did some research on this maybe last year, I can't even remember why. The kind of sign-off you give in your email will affect the kind of reply or the quickness of the reply that you get from the recipient. So best regards, kind regards, thanks, cheers. I think the outcome was that thanks is the best way to sign off an email. If I can find that research, I will pop it for you below, but it makes a difference. Who knew? But it does. This is very much the same for writing cold pitch emails. I've done an entire video on how to do a great cold pitch email. When I was first launching my own business, the bulk of my best clients came through cold pitching, so I like to think that I've got a little bit of a thing going on. Same techniques apply. Always proofread, cut out the shit, get to the point, and importantly for cold pitching, leave it open with a call to action at the end. Here is my number. I'd love to speak to you. When do you think you'd like to get in touch? Give me a call. You're telling them openly, you're giving them everything they need to get in contact with you and get that extra business. So you're kind of being a little bit more aggressive about it, but got to get it done. First impressions count, cold pitch emails. The next piece of advice goes across the board. This is for emails, presentations, blog posts, website copy, just about any little piece of thing you can think of that you are writing for yourself as a business, and that is random capitalization. I come into contact with this fairly frequently, and I personally think that it's been brought through from report writing and legal documents, educational documents. there's a tendency to capitalize random words or subjects. So my advice would be to learn the difference between a proper noun and a common noun. So a proper noun is the name of a place or a person or a brand, something that needs capitalization in every iteration regardless of where it occurs in the sentence. A common noun is just a noun. So to give you an example, if I was to write, I have a beer in my hand, there would be no capital letters in that sentence apart from the one at the start of the sentence, because there are no proper nouns in that sentence. If I was going to say, I'm holding a Coors Light in my hand, Coors Light would be capitalised because it's a proper noun, it's the name of a product. So, fair one, if you're writing a lot of reports and you're capitalising randomly in that report based on, well, that's the style, that's how you do it, that is the correct way to do it in a report or an essay, for example, great, go for it. Capitalise the shit out of that thing. But normal writing and normal business writing, you don't need to do that unless it's a proper noun. So watch out for random capitalisation in your writing. Coming through into pitch writing, pitch deck writing, website content and print content, and sometimes promotional emails, I am going to recommend extreme brevity. You only need to give your customer just as much information as they need at that specific time, or your investor, or whoever it is that you're trying to communicate to. Putting absolutely everything in that document is not going to do you any favours. You only need to spoon feed information, you only need bullet points, you only need a sentence, you only need a caption. You don't have to put absolutely everything in there. And if you're not used to writing on a typical day-to-day basis, it's a mistake you're going to make, because there is a fear within you that if you don't say everything, people aren't going to get it. They will get it. They're going to click through to your blog post, or they're going to click through to your product page, or they're going to follow the call to action and visit your site, or ask you questions at the end of your pitch meeting. You only need to include what is absolutely necessary. And this is an exercise in learning what's a nice to have and what's a must have in your content. So a really good way to get around this is to think about, firstly, the format of what it is you're writing. Are you writing an email? Are you writing a web page? Are you writing a pitch deck? Okay, now we've got the format. What is typically followed in content in this format? Subject line, body copy, call to action, for example. Then you're going to outline what points you absolutely need to have, that you could not live without inside this piece of content. Could not live without points. If it's not in there, people aren't going to understand, they're not going to get it, they're not going to click, they're not going to buy. Once you've got your must-haves, order them in terms of priority. What do people need to know first that's going to push them on to the next line, to the next line, to the next line? The hierarchy of content within your piece. Then when you've got that, you've effectively written your own structure. So you're good to go. You can kind of go in and fill it all out and sex it up a little bit while remaining as brief as possible, and then proofreading afterwards. So who's up for a little bit of a roundup? We'll start with the emails again, shall we? You want a super clear subject line, super freaking clear, and possibly as short as you can make it. You want an appropriate sign-off that's going to encourage call to action, or is appropriate for who you're talking to. Then you're going to want to proofread that sucker, go back through, cut out anything that you don't need, really refine it down and get to the bloody point. Make sure that you're not capitalizing random words, only proper nouns and words at the start of a sentence, and that you're not making silly errors just like repeating yourself or repeating words or making grammar and spelling errors that are easily caught just with a simple proofread. You're going to make sure that all of the content you write is properly structured, prioritized, and refined right down into exactly what needs to be said at that time on that platform for that audience. Think about the format and the medium, think about the must-have points that you need to hit, put those in order, flesh them out, leave it, go back, comb back through it again, cut out anything you don't need and rectify any mistakes, and then you are good to go. So those are my super simple tips for better business writing. If I can cut out just a little bit of the rambling and the randomness and the email verbal diarrhea, click and send, great! If you've got any questions about what I have spoken about here today, you can pop a comment below and I'll answer it for you, or you can find me on Twitter at @EJCownley and I will help you out. If you've got anything that you'd like me to make a video on, you can also hit me up and I'll be happy to do that for you. And until next week, I guess I'll catch you on the flip side. Take care.